expansion into Eastern Europe. The European Union says 10 former communist bloc countries and Cyprus can begin preparations to join the Union. Slovenia is one of 6 chosen to start talks early next year, which could make them full members of the Western Economic Bloc as early as 2002.
I think that we can do it. We can do it in 4 years. We can do it by the beginning of 2002. If we work seriously with harmonization of our legislation.
Hungary, Poland, the Czech Republic, Estonia and Cyprus will join Slovenia in what the Union calls fast-track negotiations. The other hopefuls will start talks with the Union at a later date. They are Bulgaria, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania and Slovakia. The European Union says these countries haven't made as much progress as the others with political and economic reforms. But faster progress means they could leapfrog into fast-track talks, bringing them into the Union sooner.
An optimistic assessment would be five years down the line, I'd have thought. It may be sooner than that. A lot depends, of course, on how speedy the process itself is and at what stage we actually become fully engaged in the negotiating process.
The Union has set aside $83 billion over the next 10 years to help raise standards in the 11 countries applying for EU membership. All of them will take part in regular meetings with the Union in a new forum called the European Conference.
We want a process in which all are involved, but we recognise that some are going to be ahead in terms of preparations and negotiations than others.
The summit dashed Turkish hopes of an invitation to join the Union.
There are many problems with Turkey. It does not have a satisfactory record in human rights, and it does not have an adequate policy towards its ethnic minorities, particularly the Kurdish population. But if we want to get improvement, what we must do is encourage those political forces in Turkey that look to Europe for their values and for their standards.
In a bid to win Turkish political cooperation, the summit has invited Turkey to join the European Conference dealing with expansion. The Turks refuse to send ministers to this summit. They think Turkey should have made the grade by now. The European Union says there's no hope of that in the foreseeable future. Patricia Kelly, CNN, Luxembourg.
Hopes of continued calm in one Northern Irish city were shattered on Saturday when violence sent British soldiers onto the streets of Londonderry. Roman Catholics pelted police with petrol bombs, bricks and bottles after pro-British Protestants staged a march through the mainly Catholic city. As in the annual summer marching season, the Protestant apprentice boys were commemorating a 3-century-old victory against the Catholic army. Police say 3 officers were injured, none of them seriously. The unrest, in which gangs of Catholic youths set fire to at least 5 vehicles, was the worst since the Irish Republican Army reinstated a ceasefire in July. Tens of thousands of people marched on Saturday in San Sebastian in the Basque region of Spain, protesting separatist violence there. As CNN's Eric Olander reports, ETA guerrillas are suspected of yet another political assassination, which has outraged many members of the population.
It was a massive outpouring of grief and anger, expressed in silence. Marching behind a sign that read, "Peace now and forever," the people of San Sebastian demonstrated their outrage at the latest political murder in the region. Jose Luis Caso, a local town councillor, was shot dead on Thursday. ETA guerrillas, who are fighting for an independent Basque state, were immediately suspected of killing Caso. Saturday's protest was the largest since July. That's when an estimated 6 million people took part in a week-long wave of protests against ETA, following the killing of another Basque politician. Government ministers marching alongside Basque regional politicians on Saturday say things are changing.
Everything is different. It has to keep on being different. That's the answer for a hopeful nation. So this way the violence will be choked off in this land.
Leaders of the European Union meeting at a summit in Luxembourg also issued a communique condemning the killing. As the march moved through the city, silent vigils were also held in other towns and cities across the autonomous Basque region. In Irun, Caso was buried after a somber funeral procession. A masked man shot Caso in the head while he was drinking with some friends in a bar. He had received repeated death threats, but refused offers of bodyguards. Authorities believe Kasso's murder was in retaliation for the jailing of 23 leaders of the Eri Batasuna party. That's ETA's political wing. ETA is blamed for nearly 800 killings since it started its campaign for independence in 1968. Eric Olander, CNN reporting.
Vowing not to make any concessions he calls, quote, suicidal, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in a Sunday meeting of his